All right, let's jump right in. I want you to picture a quiet, post-apocalyptic landscape. The air is thick, right? Ash is just constantly drifting down like gray snow. And there's a lone man walking down a completely ruined road. Beside him, a young boy is pushing a rusted shopping cart. No music, no chatter, just the hollow sound of the wind sweeping past.
But then, suddenly, everything changes. I mean, the whole narrative just shifts. That relentless ash completely disappears, and the sky breaks open into this brilliant, vivid blue. Somewhere in the distance, you hear birds singing, which is a sound that literally hasn't been heard in a lifetime. The father opens his eyes. He realizes he's no longer on that desolate road. He is standing in this peaceful, vibrant green valley. And across the field, the boy, who is now an adult, is walking steadily right toward him.
They meet, and there's this long, incredibly emotional embrace. And then the boy quietly shatters the silence with this absolutely devastating question. He asks, "Papa, did you teach me how to survive or how to live?" And wow, that just sets the stage for what is a profoundly metaphysical reunion. It's not a simple catch-up. This is the start of a deep, soul-searching conversation looking back at the agonizing choices that defined both of their existences. As they talk, the space around them starts to expand, and figures from their past actually step forward to join them. First out of the shadows is the mother. She's here to defend her agonizing choice to leave them behind. She says, "I chose the only thing that still felt like mine." She essentially chose a terrifying, lonely death over waiting for the horror she believed was inevitable. So we have to wonder, right? Was that an act of complete surrender, or was it her last desperate grasp at autonomy? Then, the old traveler, Ely, joins the circle. He steps in to really challenge the father's absolute certainty about survival at literally any cost. He brings up this haunting idea. A man gives everything he has, then learns some of it was poison. He's questioning if the father's unyielding, fierce protection actually infected the boy with this inescapable, paralyzing fear of everyone else. It's a heavy thought, isn't it?
Next to arrive is the veteran, the man from the end of the road who took the boy in after the father died. He presents this stark contrast to the father's intense isolationism. He reminds us a person may avoid becoming a monster and still forget how to become a neighbor. Basically, refusing to be evil is not the same thing as being good. You can avoid being a monster, sure, but you might totally forget how to exist in a human community. Even the desperate thief steps out from the shadows. This is the guy who stole everything from them, the one the father humiliated. He strips away all the lofty philosophical debate with the rawest truth of their reality, saying, when a man is starving, the world narrows to his own body. He forces this really profound confrontation about hunger and morality. Is true judgment even possible when basic survival is on the line? It's a completely fair question. And all of this builds into this unresolvable tension, a core clash of ideologies. On one side, you've got the father insisting on protecting physical life, no matter the moral cost. He says, "I protected my son with the only knowledge I trusted." But on the other side, the boy makes this desperate plea for his soul. "I was afraid losing my humanity would mean I was already dead." You see the disconnect? The father feared the boy would physically die, while the boy feared surviving without compassion meant they were already dead inside. Then we're pulled into a fierce debate over the mother's suicide. And we're really trying to impartially weigh the father's enduring and maybe irrational hope against her suffocating despair. To the father, she chose control over her responsibility. But her counter is heartbreaking. She argues that when suffering is absolute and you've literally nothing left to give, duty simply becomes a punishment. It's a brutal clash of perspectives. So, a crucial turning point pits the father's baseline definition of goodness against the thief's grim reality. The father stakes his whole moral identity on the fact that they never crossed that ultimate line. They didn't eat people. They were the good guys. But the thief bluntly calls that out. He essentially says that is a low border for goodness. When you refuse to help anyone in need, just not eating them isn't exactly the highest moral ground. And that brings us to how they wrestle with the story's most famous concept, carrying the fire. The father viewed that fire as a fragile ember, right? Something he had to fiercely shield from the wind of a hostile world. But the boy? He saw the fire as a warmth that fundamentally had to be shared. For him, every time they turned their backs on strangers, it felt like they were actively suffocating the very fire they claimed to be carrying. So together, without ever spoon-feeding us a simple black and white answer, These characters throw us into a whirlwind of timeless questions. Honestly, it feels like a cinematic trailer for a conversation that leaves your mind just racing. It demands that we ask, what does it really mean to carry the fire? Is it hope? Is it your conscience, memory, love? Or is it literally just civilization itself?
As the father's fierce, almost animalistic protective instincts are questioned by the group, we really have to pause. Can fear protect love without eventually replacing it entirely? I mean, what happens when fear becomes your only teacher? Does keeping someone physically safe mean you might just inadvertently break them emotionally?
And we're forced to look at the absolute limits of human endurance. Was the mother wrong to choose death? Can any of us honestly judge a mother who felt trapped in a doorless room of unimaginable terror? Does love actually require you to endure literal torture just to stay present?
Think about this. When every single choice causes harm and total isolation feels like the only safe bet, does survival alone make us good? We're left wondering if simply refusing to become a monster is a big enough legacy to leave behind, or if true goodness actually demands that we risk our own lives to show a little mercy.
Finally, as the boy reveals the future he built by trusting a new family, we have to ask one ultimate question. Can hope exist without certainty? Does stepping into the future actually require us to abandon the heavy grief and the rigid survival lessons of the past? Can we trust strangers when every fiber of our being tells us to run?
Now, this explainer only scratches the surface of these haunting moral clashes. I'm leaving you hanging on purpose here, because the depth of this dialogue is absolutely something you need to experience for yourself. If you're ready to explore this metaphysical reunion and really wrestle with these questions without the comfort of easy answers, you have to read the full piece. The URL is right there. Definitely check it out to step into the rest of the conversation.
Just as a quick reminder, this is a creative fictional explainer. It's an imaginary conversation inspired by the novel designed to make you think, not the actual dialogue from Cormac McCarthy's book. But it is a journey that will definitely leave you reflecting. So I'll leave you with this. What does it truly mean to carry the fire in your own life, even when the world around you goes dark? Are you just shielding the flame from the wind, or are you brave enough to share its warmth?